Unspoken Issues.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Unspoken Issues podcast. That's right. We have returned. And do we have some unspoken issues for you tonight? Maybe. I don't know. You might have heard of Badrock and Company. I know I did when I was hanging out at the comic book store, looking at the comic book shelves and seeing Badrock on the cover with Pitt. Nope. Badrock on the cover with Fuji. Oh, wait. Badrock on the cover with Grifter. We got 6 issues. Mighty Man. We've got 6 issues of Badrock hanging out with some of the more prominent members of the Image universe, and we're going to be talking about all 6 of those tonight. And joining me, of course, Dean Compton. Dean Compton, this is your idea. We were just talking about it before we got on here. Yeah. Nonsense. Come on, man. Tell the people.
It's not nonsense. It's just fun. There's nothing.
That's exactly right.
Other than the last issue, there's nothing of really importance that happens. There's no subplots. It's all just standalone. It's I love it. It's like I said, it's Image Comics team up or Extreme Studios team up. You get to see Badrock interact with all sorts of people from what was the Image universe then. And they really, even the bad guys are drawn from all across the spectrum to an extent. You get to see the Covenant of the Sword and Cyberdata and your favorite Velocity. She's going to be in here. I'll teach you about Cyberforce later.
Is Covenant of the Sword a real group? I'd never heard of them before.
Yeah, they're from Savage Dragon. Super Patriot fought them and stuff. They're on Eric Larson.
Okay.
I want to say that they're in a Youngblood Strike file, the Super Patriot story where Die Hard has to rescue him. I think they're involved in that too. But yeah, I think they're an Eric Larson creation as far as I know. So really far-reaching. The tendrils went out into the Image universe, and you get Pitt, Shadowhawk, Mighty Man, Velocity.
Tony Twist from
Tony
universe.
Twist, Overkill. So
Overkill.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I remember literally the first day I was ever in a comic book store. This is a comic book store. And I'm trying to, it's so funny because I'm 13, right? And I'm already trying to be cool all the time and failing miserably. There are no cool 13-year-old boys. Let me just make that very clear right now. Not one. Even Dick Grayson wasn't cool when he was 13. So you had no fucking chance. And I remember I'm in there and I'm do. Those are back issues. I have heard of these. The comic books that are not on this shelf at the moment. And I see it's a Marvel team up. What? And of course, it's a book of Spider-Man for the most part. There's a few issues with the Human Torch. I think there's one with Power Man and Iron Fist and the Hulk, but mostly a Spider-Man team up book. And I wound up buying the one where he teams up with the Watcher. Of all things.
Wow.
Yeah, I was excited for it. And I bought a Punisher comic too, because that's what I do. I also bought a calendar, and it was August, but it was real cheap. And look, y'all, this is how different it was then, y'all. I bought this calendar because I knew there'd be info on it.
Oh,
there were classic covers, and you learn who did this cover and where it came from and that kind of thing. And it was $3, and the calendar retailed for $13 or something. A fortune to me in rural Arkansas at the time. But I was I'll be able to pick up some extra info with that because, again, no internet. I didn't even know that there were books about comic books at this point. I barely knew that Wizard Magazine was a thing. So yeah, I've always had a special spot for team-up books, and Badrock and Company exemplifies just about the best of everything you can hope for in a team-up book, and also the character Badrock, who I also like a whole lot. I've always liked him. I think he looks cool. His face looks like a steam shovel. I'm a big fan. I mean that in a good way. I don't want to sound like one of those people who's bad-mouthing Rob Liefeld. Like, I genuinely think it looks fucking cool. Like, it closes and opens up. It's fucking badass.
Yeah, he's one of the more recognizable characters of the Image universe, for sure. Darry, do you remember seeing these books on the shelf at all?
No, I completely missed these. I don't remember them at all. I had no idea what they were when Dean suggested them, but they were great. I love this early Image shared universe thing before with Splinters. I thought this was great. I really enjoyed the cameos. I enjoyed seeing the different writers. I thought Badrock was a perfect point of view character. He's a kid, but he's excited, and Youngblood's really popular. And I thought that organically it worked incredibly well. I particularly enjoyed the Mighty Man issue because both as a Shazam and an Eric Larson fan. I thought that worked really well considering they never tell you the main conceit of the character, which is at the time, Mighty Man is actually a young woman. And I thought that was great the way they danced around, and I thought that was done particularly well. But the entire series was incredibly enjoyable. And once again, Dean just rolls out the hits you don't know anything about.
That's right.
Badrock's such a great character. Well, I'm sorry. Go on, Jesse.
I was just going to ask you to actually describe who Badrock is. So you beat me to it. Go for it.
Badrock, you said he's a kid, and he's a great kid point of view. He is oddly not tortured at all, despite the fact that he's now 14, trapped in this monstrous Bedrock body, Bedrock being his original name, which a lot of people think that Rob Liefeld got sued, but there was no lawsuit. They kind of made some noise, and he changed it on his own. He didn't really have to either, I don't think, in and of itself, because bedrock is a thing. It is a geological term. It's like part of the earth. I don't know if he had to change that. I think, honestly, Yabba Dabba Doom was probably...
Oh, yeah.
When you put them together, that may be iffy, but bedrock in and of itself... And I think I read in... I recently just got a cache of Inside Image. Y'all know about Inside Image?
Mm-hmm.
No, I can't say that I do.
It was like their Marvel Age. It's their book, and it's got like everything's coming out. A couple interviews.
I've seen
I just read an interview with Rob Liefeld. I read about Badrock and Company, and to get ready for this. And one of the things he said, he's like, I didn't really have to change the name. I just did because he didn't want to. But this time he's running a company, drawing books, taking meetings with Steven Spielberg. I'll just change the name, right? That's how it came across to me. I could be wrong, but it came across to me like, I really don't want to deal with this. It's easier for me to just change the name and go on. I think I could win, and I think he could too, honestly, but I'm not a lawyer, and he didn't want to, it seems like he just didn't want to spend the time or money on something when he didn't have a lot of time, but he didn't have money. He could have fought it, But back to Badrock, he's a young man. He's just really so great because he's 14, and when I was 14, I feel like this is the superhero I would have been still excited about shit like Star Wars figures and movies and wants to play video games, and also parachutes out of planes to save his mom with a super spy. Along the way, he's got super strength. He's nearly invulnerable. His powers are very reminiscent of the Thing. He doesn't look like the Thing, though. I said he's much blockier in a good way. I really, really dig it. And I think he got his powers from some science MacGuffin that his dad whipped up. I don't remember what it was. Genetic reprocessor or something. But he's a really fun character, always great, and he is the perfect character to be in this book, to have the Image universe gravitate towards, because he's one of the only people who would welcome that. You can't do Spawn. But Spawn's like, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Leave me the fuck alone. I don't fucking care. Leave me the fuck alone. Get the fuck out of here. That's what Spawn and Company would be. But Badrock's, you know what? I like these guys. I've read about them, and this will be fun. Sure, let's do this. So it works in a way that you can't be Shadowhawk. Savage Dragon would be just like Spawn, but slightly toned down.
Oh yeah. So somebody's getting.
Be like, this is nonsense. I don't want to deal with this.
He's arresting.
Police officer.
He's arresting half of the people he teams up with. That's Savage Dragon for you right there.
But that's Badrock. Great character, member of Youngblood, America's elite strike force, governmental strike force team, and they are celebrities in their own right. And Badrock welcomes every bit of it.
Yeah. Does not stop them from taking shots at Fred Flintstone in these issues, though.
Steve Engels, who writes, I think issue number 2, takes a lot of shots at the situation.
All right.
So we can't say, I don't want to say that Rob Liefeld took those shots because he didn't write or draw these or even edit it. So it'd be unfair for him to be like, oh, he did this. He might have known, he might not. I have no idea.
All right. Well, we are going to get into these first 3 issues.
What about you, man? Did you buy these off the shelf?
I have a few of these, actually, yes.
I bought them off the shelf back in the day. I know you got one with Velocity. I know you got the one with Velocity.
I for some reason, I got a couple of these issues, and then something either happened to where I had to drop it off the pull list, or even if it was on the pull list, it might have been something where I was seeing it on the shelves and grabbing it along with the stuff I was picking up. But I only got a couple issues. You put Pitt and Badrock on the cover of an issue, you're going to sell it to me. It's pretty easy to do. I was a big fan of Stormwatch, huge fan of Stormwatch, actually. Collected
money? Oh, go on, finish your thought.
No, I was just going to say, when I see Fuji on the front of the cover with Badrock, I'm down. So go ahead.
Especially in a wrestling motif.
Oh, no kidding. It's on Sunday. Go ahead.
A few years ago, we did source material. We did Stormwatch #1, and I was, man, I thought this was better than it was. But last year, I reread Stormwatch number 1 through 30, and it was better than I thought it was at the time when I read it with source material. So I feel like I got to do it again to like get the fucking,
right.
Give it 2 out of 3 falls. It's 1-1 now.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, what do you think of Badrock? Were you a Youngblood guy?
I liked Badrock back in the day. Badrock was the first Youngblood guy I was really into because he had a toy from McFarlane Toys. And at that point, I was just buying everything that company put out. So I got the sweet, giant Badrock action figure. And I was, I'm about this. I love the name. I love the design. I love everything else. And then Alan Moore, of all people, wrote a mini series where he fights Violator for 4 issues. I picked that up off the rack because it was Spawn adjacent. I love that thing. So yeah, no, I'm a huge Badrock fan. I think he's a great character. I was reading a little bit about him for this recording, and I guess he was almost the breakout character, almost getting movies, almost getting everything else. I think that would have been perfect. I think you said it before, but he's your relatable character in the whole Youngblood universe, right? They're all super celebrities, government agents,
espionage assassins.
Yeah, crazy all over the place. But you have this teenage boy who comes from a pretty good home who gets turned into an unstoppable superhero, and he just kind of wants the best for every situation. So I definitely think that's your way in.
Do y'all remember that suit that they had?
Which one? Who?
The Extreme Studios used to bring around this fucking Badrock suit to conventions and shit. And it's the size of a goddamn tank.
Armstrong shares that picture every once in a while that he has on. He either grabbed it from somewhere, but yeah, every once in a while he'll throw that out there on Facebook, and it's amazing looking.
Yeah, they had a dude dressed as Chapel too, who looked really good.
Yeah.
Hang out together. So, What else we should do sometime? Yeah, I think it's technically 90s. It would count. We should do the Joe Casey Youngblood rescript. It's so good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, have you ever read it?
I haven't, no.
It's amazing. It's just like the first 4 issues, but he's redone page orders and changed the script, and it is fucking fire.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
Yeah. It came out in 2008, but it still technically counts.
Hey.
And if you see the hardcover cheap, grab it because it's not going to get reprinted, and it's going for around 100 now.
No kidding.
And none of this can be reprinted, right? He no longer owns Blood.
I think Andrew Rebb could reprint it, but I don't know exactly how that would work. I don't know if he needs Rob's permission as well, or he could just do it. But Andrew Rebb ain't going to do nothing with anything because he's never done anything with anything. All he's ever done is fuck shit up. Why would this be any different?
I tell you, I got a box of comics that I want to make sure no matter what, I never sell, I never get rid of. And it's every Alan Moore issue of Extreme Universe, whatever it was called at the time, including the scripts that Rob released online that he had already paid Alan Moore for that are never going to get made. Because I know that stuff, that's it. That'll never, someone would have to come in and buy so many different intellectual properties for that stuff to ever get made again. But it's insane. It's like he wrote, Alan Moore, the guy who did Watchmen, wrote an entire arc of Youngblood. That's the thing that happened. That's just, that's crazy to me.
Not to mention the Supreme stuff.
Oh yeah, but that actually had a couple of trades. That's still
but it's not going to be reprinted now.
No, it's not going. And actually, those trades are terrible. I wish I'd get my original issues. So if you see them, grab them. But if you can get the originals, they're worth whatever you got to pay to get them.
$20 million. 20 million. Cool 20 mil.
20 mil.
Man.
Matthew Price at Speeding Bullet Comics will be happy to sell you any Supreme comic you want for $20 million, by the way.
That's true. That's true. That's a fact.
If you're willing to pay it, he will find it for you. Supreme 47A, no problem.
Well, let's go ahead. We'll hop into these first 3 issues. I'm going to read the synopsis. We got, like I said, each one of these are standalone issues. There is a little bit of continuity that goes on between a couple of them, but really, we're going to have a good time talking about all 3 of these. All right, here we go. So our first issue. The scene opens in a dimly lit room where 2 brothers engage in a friendly but intense wager. Each selects a photograph, one depicting the imposing figure of Pitt, and the other showcasing the rugged visage of Badrock. Little do they know, their seemingly innocent bet will soon spiral into a series of events neither could have anticipated. Days pass, and we find Badrock traversing the bustling streets of New York City, his imposing presence a beacon of hope in the urban jungle. It's not long before he encounters one of the brothers who frantically informs him of a young boy in imminent danger stalked by a menacing alien presence. Meanwhile, the other brother, with mischievous intent, convinces the unsuspecting boy that Timmy that they are about to embark on a harmless prank involving Badrock. As the hero arrives on the scene, Timmy finds himself awestruck in the presence of his idol. Suddenly, the situation takes a drastic turn as Pitt bursts onto the scene, misinterpreting the scenario and believing Badrock to be a threat to Timmy. In a swift and powerful motion, Pitt delivers a devastating blow, propelling Badrock out of the warehouse with tremendous force. Undeterred, Badrock re-enters the fray, fists clenched and determination burning bright. A fierce battle ensues between the two Herculean beings, much to the anticipation of the watching brothers, who fervently are rooting for each of their chosen champions. However, in the tumult of the clashing titans, Badrock begins to piece together the sinister machinations at play. He realizes they've manipulated, pitted against each other in a dangerous game orchestrated by the brothers. As tensions escalate, Timmy overhears a chilling revelation that his life may be in jeopardy to fuel the brothers' twisted agenda. Desperate to escape, Timmy's attempt is thwarted by one of the brothers, who resorts to violence in a bid to maintain control. In a moment of clarity, both Badrock and Pitt turn their attention towards the true villains of the story. With swift justice, they apprehend the brothers, ensuring they face the consequences of their actions. In the aftermath, as the city breathes a sigh of relief, Badrock takes a moment to share a meal with Timmy and his grandfather, a testament to the enduring bond forged during adversity. A reminder that even in the face of darkness, there is always light to guide the way. So there you go. That is our discussion of issue 1, which, by the way, creative team 1 here, because each of these issues has a somewhat different creative team. Writer and layouts, Keith Giffen on this issue, penciled by Todd Nauk is what I want to go with. What do you think?
As good as mine.
Okay, Nauk.
I would have said knock, but
Nauk.
Knock.
Todd Nauk. Good old TN. Yeah, there you go.
Right. Right.
Inked by Larry Stucker and colored by Byron Tallman, lettered by Kurt Hathaway, and color separations by Extreme Colors. This issue was on the shelves 1994, I think is what I was seeing. Hold on a second. Let me double check that. Yeah, on sale September 19th, 1994. So there is our first issue. I said, Pitt on the cover, Badrock on the cover. You've got me sold. Let's get into issue 2 here real quick.
What do you want to bet that one of those fucking American Entertainment or Entertainment This Month ads? I bet if we look, we could find one. It would have an ad for this Badrock and Company. He's with the whole Image universe. Hot. Remember those ads?
Right up there in the corner.
Yeah,
it says hot.
They did it. I bet there's one out there.
Guaranteed. All right.
Issue 1 would be they would say regular price $250, $225 for this one from us. Remember that? We'll cut you a quarter, kids.
Issue 2. Now you said help me out with the pronunciation of his last name. Is it Mangles?
That's how I would say it.
Okay, all right. So issue 2.
Darry has a different idea.
Mangle sounds right to me. I've never heard it pronounced.
Very nice guy. Facebook friends with him. Super, super nice guy.
Awesome. Yes, issue 2. This is the one with Badrock and Fuji on the cover, and just like Dean said, it's got them in it looks like a big time bout's about to happen. What's going to happen here? So written by Andy Mangles, Todd Nauk. Nope, Knock. Penciled by Todd Knock. Inked by Danny Meeke.
If I was him, I'd go by TNK. That sounds cool. TNK.
Yes, sir. Inked by Danny Meeke, that's a name I recognize. Marlo Alquiza. Colored by Byron Tallman. Lettered by Kurt Hathaway, and color separations by Extreme Colors. So, in the heart of Youngblood's training facility, Badrock finds himself under the watchful eye of Shaft, who grimly notes that the consistent destruction wreaked upon the equipment by the powerhouse hero week after week. Leaving the confines of the training room, Badrock's path intersects with Timer, who delivers news of an intriguing opportunity, an offer from a television network, Gem, for, the name is excitement. Ooh, Jim. For a charity for a charity pay-per-view wrestling event featuring none other than Badrock himself pitted against the intimidating Fuji. As preparations for the event unfold, tensions simmer beneath the surface. Fuji, initially hesitant, ultimately agrees to participate in the spirit of good sportsmanship. Across the vast expanse of the Image world. Anticipation builds as spectators gear up to what promises to be an electrifying showdown. In the middle of the bustling activity surrounding the construction of the venue, they have to construct a venue to hold these guys in, and nobody can be on the premises. But they're constructing this thing. A mysterious figure known as Impulse emerges. Her enigmatic presence
Not
captivating.
Bart Allen.
No, it's not Bart Allen.
It's a different Impulse.
Yes, her enigmatic.
It's not a 0 hour crossover.
It is not.
It could.
Her enigmatic presence captivating the attention of network executives. With promises of doubling revenue, Impulse plans to manipulate the contestants, intending to stoke the flames of aggression and potentially orchestrate a deadly outcome, all in a gambit to make mob boss Tony Twist cash in on a contract, killing a Badrock. So yes, she's there to make sure that Badrock dies, and she's also going to make some money on the side, it sounds like. Yeah. As a fateful night of the event arrives.
That sound like a low sum?
$5 million?
To kill a superhero? One of the preeminent superheroes in the world. The number one strong guy on the number one team in America. This is America's team. Badrock is America's team. And $5 million?
I know.
That seems low.
But I thought that was just her fee to be involved, but Fuji was going to be the actual one to do it, and then everyone was going to win on the bet that Twist was making. So it was their way of saying, well, if we do this right, you won't even know I was involved. That's how I read it anyway.
It still seems low, but I'll take that.
I guess.
Don't ever play with Darry, y'all. Look at this behind the scenes machinations bullshit.
I'm just saying, someone starts talking about money, my ears perk up.
Wait, Celebin.
As the fateful night arrives of the event, the contestants step into the spotlight, ready to square off at a battle of titans. The match kicks off with Badrock seizing an early advantage, catching Fuji off guard with a calculated strike. Unbeknownst to the spectators at home, Impulse lurks in the shadows, her insidious influence gradually eroding the inhibitions of the combatants. The spectacle unfolds with a mounting intensity, prompting growing unease among the onlookers. The escalating violence spills beyond the confines of the venue, culminating in a dramatic showdown on a pier that crumbles into the water. As the combatants grapple in the heart of the crashing water, the confrontation takes a perilous turn. Badrock's immense strength inadvertently, I don't know if that's inadvertently, it definitely looked like he was going for it. Breaches Fuji's containment suit, sending shockwaves through the depths below. I don't
think that was inadvertent at all, but I think he's in a maddened state. So
right.
Like legally inadvertent, but certainly purposeful in action, if that makes sense.
Sounds good to me. With chaos mounting, both Stormwatch and Youngblood are called into action, racing against time to separate the adversaries and prevent tragedy. Beneath the surface, Riptide's mastery over water proves instrumental in restoring Badrock's breath, bringing him back to life. He was out. While the mysterious Impulse slips away somewhat unnoticed, her nefarious agenda unfulfilled but far from forgotten. In the shadows, Tony Twist solidifies his sinister intentions, offering a new contract to eliminate Badrock, setting the stage for a confrontation that will reverberate across the Image universe. So that is issue 2. And we get into issue 3. Our creative team... That's right. Pretty much stays the same, I believe. Doesn't look like anything changes. Let me just double check this real quick, because we are picking up with... This is the small bit of continuity that I was talking about here, where on the front cover, we have Mighty Man, Badrock, and a face that some people might recognize, Overkill. Dean, real quick, didn't you share something in our chat about Overkill? I remember seeing this. Isn't this where Todd and Rob get together with Stan Lee and create this character together? Or actually, I should say is maybe that was a different video. I swear,
but that did happen.
Okay, all right. I didn't look at the video. I saw the thumbnail.
Who shared that in our group chat? Because I don't think I did.
No, that was me. I love that video.
Yeah. I was gonna say, so that is what happens on the video. I remember this video. I think I had it back in the day, but they pretty much create more or less at least the shell of this character, right? So one of the reasons the name changes is so
they create the whole thing. Yeah, Stan Lee stands there with these 2 young whippersnappers, and he's like, I'll come up with a name, and you 2 draw it. That's how Jack and I used to work. And,
you kids do the work, and I'll take the credit.
Pretty much.
1963.
So Stan's
I'll be over here doing a bullpen bulletin.
Stan's overkill, and then over the course of the rest of the video, Rob Liefeld and Todd McFarlane draw out this character pretty much. I don't remember if he's got the background as a mob enforcer, but he's certainly a cyborg hunter-killer type. And then, yeah, as Dean mentioned, once they went to go put him into a book, the name Overkill was taken, so he had to become Overt Kill with a dash as well, which is complete and utter nonsense. But yeah, apparently he's here and he hates Badrock for some reason.
I know that they fought in other things, and I just can't remember where. It might have been in issues of Youngblood, but I have read them.
I was going to say it's mentioned in here that this is the second or third time he's come after Badrock. Is Overkill's first appearance in Spawn?
Yeah, because you see in this too that Overkill works for Tony Twist. So they're all Spawn guys. It's all from the Spawn corner of the universe. And there were a host of Overkill action figures from McFarlane Toys. Just every once in a while, people, oh, you got a new idea for a cyborg? You're getting a new Overkill figure. He never really had any characterization to speak of. This comic seems to make the case that he's actually just a robot at this point, not even a human. Right. Yeah, so.
But he still eats. Apparently had a McDonald's incident. So
yeah, but it's one of those things where how much he hates Badrock, how much he needs to eat, how much to do everything else is just lingering program, right? Does he like eat a burger and it just sits in a vacuum sealed part of his body and eventually he's got to get rid of it? I thought that was kind of interesting. They don't play that up a lot, but I do like the idea that this death robot is just hunting this little kid for no real reason because there's nothing left of him that could even say, well, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. So.
All right, well, we're back to New York City here for this issue during the excitement of a toy store's autograph signing event for the latest Youngblood toys.
No, it's Toy Fair.
Toy Fair? Is it a toy fair? I thought that was the name
Toy
of the...
Fair is a thing in and of itself. They do it every year.
It's capital T, capital F. So Toy Fair is a trade show that all the action figures makers go to. And Todd McFarlane's got this great story about how the first one he attended with what was at the time called Todd Toys, and shortly thereafter would be called McFarlane Toys. That was the show that made him, because he was able to be Todd in front of enough buyers that eventually they were like, yeah, all right, we'll take a shot on you. And then suddenly this tiny Canadian toy company got into Toys R Us and Kmart and everywhere else. And that's where I found them, and I bought everyone I could get my fat little hands on. And now he's the wealthiest guy to ever come out of comic books. So.
I think he gave him the old razzmatazz. Didn't he bring the Spawn mobile to it and shit too? Yeah. This is stuff that you just didn't do at Toy Fair. But now Toy Fair, I wish I could go so bad. But guys like Pixel Dan and the Toy Galaxy guy, they go and they show the videos. And every year I decide I watch these videos and I'm like going to buy all these toys. Then Emily's like, where are we going to put them? And I'm going to worry about that later. And then I might.
I've been to Toy Fair, and I want everything. There's not even, you can't even hide that fact. You're walking around and some of the booths, they'll have duplicates, and I'll just be like, can I just give you cash money? And I just walk out with that. No. And they're like, no, of course not. That's the most illegal thing you could possibly do. This is
right.
But I want them all. I want everything.
Keep coming to Toy Fair. So no.
Yeah.
But it looks like an amazing time. You can only go if you're a journalist, you get a pass, or if you're part of the industry. It's not open to the general public. But it's one of those things, if I was on, I don't know if y'all watched the new Press Your Luck, but if you get to the final part, you can pick prizes that are specific for you, like a lifetime supply of Mr. Pibb or some bullshit like that, right? This one guy, he had a trip to the North and South Pole, and he wound up whammying out even though he already had it. He had he should have quit. Anyhow, it's neither here nor there. But I would probably pick going to Toy Fair and a few other things like that.
Is this any relation to the Toy Fair magazine?
No, not at all. This is a trade show.
Okay.
Toy Fair magazine is a magazine Wizard put out. Toy Fair is literally FAIR. It is a fair.
Oh, yeah, not FARE.
Right. This is where all of the big guys come together and try and get Mattel and Hasbro and McFarlane Toys and Jakks and whoever else, Jada, whoever else is in Super 7, whoever you can think of, Funko.
Well, that's now. You go back, Toy Fair in 1983, I guess, was the first time that American toy purchasers saw the toys that would become the Transformers, because they were already being sold in Japan. And people were walking around and being like, what is all this transforming crap? Why do you have so many different ones of these? And they were like, we really like them. It's selling well. And someone was like, can we just license all of these? And these are all different lines. No, we got a guy for that. Don't worry about it. They're gonna be robots who fight each other, but can we just bring them all in? And they were like, yeah, sure. We'd like to break into the American market. So Toy Fair's stuff like that. Yeah, Toy Fair's been around for a while. There's plenty of crazy stories that come out there. But to Dean's point, it still happens every year. In fact, right around this time of the year. So.
Oh wow,
and
that's crazy.
It's where everybody, if you're a buyer for a store, or anything that sells toys on a retail market, this is where you go to decide what you're gonna buy. Yeah, Todd McFarlane made it seem like that day at Toy Fair that made his company. If they had passed on him, he wouldn't have had enough, because he was using his own money at that point. He wouldn't have had enough to keep going. And it was like, I want to do a toy company. And again, he did exactly what he did in comics. He took that personality and he took the goals and he took the end result and he wouldn't take no for an answer. And he brought it to the toy industry. And to Dean's point, it's like, you didn't do that. That was a different industry. And Todd didn't know that or didn't care. And the result is McFarlane Toys. It's still around today. It does DC, for Christ's sake. Yeah. And that's the thing, too, is a lot of toy shelf is bought. Hasbro buys this from Walmart. Like, we want this much space. And if you don't have orders, it's hard to buy that space. But if you have people, you're like, well, we're gonna order this stuff. It works symbiotically. Todd could never have bought that space without the cash from the orders. Yeah.
Well, I've learned something. That's very interesting here. Let me read that first sentence once again.
Yeah,
here we go.
Do it right this time. Do it the right way this time, Starcher.
In the bustling streets of New York City, during the excitement of Toy Fair and an autograph signing event for the latest Youngblood toys, Badrock finds himself running into Mighty Man, a fellow hero of powerful stature. As the pair exchange pleasantries, their camaraderie is cut short as chaos erupts with the sudden arrival of the menacing cyborg known as Overkill. With lightning speed, Overkill launches a ferocious assault, sending Badrock hurtling through the air close to the floor where Mighty Man stands. Witnessing the danger below, Mighty Man springs into action. Mighty Man's up there doing a toy deal, too. He's
representing Freak Force, because that's the only person you could probably send that wouldn't just instantly in the field the second they got seen. Right. I love Super Patriot, but he looked like a robot started to eat a person and just quit midway through and decided they were now one bean.
I know halfway to your point. I know halfway through there. Oh, there's no action figure of Horridus, and someone says, "Hell yeah, there's not. That wouldn't sell at all." And it's great because it's Freak Force. It's all the also rans from Chicago. But yeah, to your point, Mighty Man's the only respectable superhero. So they send.
I guess Ricochet could have worked too.
Sure. But they always draw Ricochet as part of the barbaric thing, and she's unsure of herself and all this other stuff. But again, I go back to the big reveal of Mighty Man. This is 1994. No one would be talking to you if you sneezed, said your magic word, or rather, sorry, they don't have a magic word. I think they got to smash their wrists together and turn back to a young lady. They'd be like, absolutely not. We're not looking to play that game. Please go home.
And then, as we know, too, I guess, as well, because of the Big Bang stuff, Mighty Man has a reputation, a good one.
Oh, yeah, because Mighty Man is Captain Marvel. So Mighty Man's been fighting since the Nazis.
You look at the stuff that happened in Big Bang comics, we see some of their adventures prior, and they're on very good terms with everyone. I like Mighty Man a lot. I'm a sucker for that pastiche every time. Yeah, but nobody ever going to top the Big Red Cheese, am I right?
That's right.
DC was really bad with Captain Marvel in the 90s, so Mighty Man was one of my first introductions to the character.
Great.
Yeah, I know. We've had this conversation before.
Jerry Ordway knocked it out of the park, bro.
Oh, it's just, Jerry Ordway is just so boring to me.
I can't speak of him on a personal level, but Power of Shazam is a must-read.
All right. I'm not going to disagree with you on that.
We're going to read it later.
All I want to say is Mighty Man is actually the original name of Black Adam. Black Adam before he turns evil, he's the mighty Adam, and Adam just means man. So in the original continuity, he was mighty man. He was a superhero before he got corrupted. So I think that's one of the many reasons that Eric Larson named the character that, and Shazam, Captain Marvel, is referred to as the world's mightiest criminal. So it's on point. And I would even go so far as I always joke that one of Shazam's most notable enemies in the Golden Age were these crocodile men who would show up and be rambunctious. And for a while,
like the Beagle Boys.
They are. They're pretty much the Beagle Boys. They're almost joke characters. Sobek is a little bit more dangerous, but for the most part, they you can't really hurt Captain Marvel unless you know his secret. But I was just going to say, for a while before we knew what Savage Dragon's origin was, he almost seemed like one of them because he was this green thing with two toes that no one knew anything about. So a lot of Shazam DNA in Freak Force.
It's so funny because for the first time, what was it, a couple of days ago, I just realized that Savage Dragon only had two toes. I've read Savage Dragon for the longest time, and somehow that got past me. And I'm not kidding you. This is 2 days ago. I was trying to, I can't remember what I was. I think I was looking at maybe Badrock versus Savage Dragon on that first issue of the there's a first issue of the miniseries, or maybe a second or third. Three. Okay. So anyway, I'm seeing him flying through the air, and I'm like, well, his feet look weird. Anyway, there you go.
I
pay
didn't know
attention
until just now, but I've never really read Savage Dragon. I've only looked through it. So.
I only know that because the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles also only have two toes. And for a while, when Savage Dragon, Larson didn't give his origin for the longest time. It was like, it's not important. He has amnesia. It's not part of the story. Don't worry about it. But there would always be little hints. When he first met the Turtles, who were published by Image for a while, after Mirage was like, no, we're good, they started drawing his toes that way. I don't know if that's why they did it, but they were like, oh, are you a mutant lizard or something? Are you a mutant too? Is that why your feet look like that? And he's like, I don't know, but that's pretty cool. And they kind of filed that away. So for a while, that was the most you had to go on. And for some reason, the Savage Dragon's toes look exactly like Mikey, Leo, and the other ones. But of course that would not turn out to be his origin. So
now, just for future reference, foreshadowing, we have both Power of Shazam graphic novel and TMNT body count on the schedule. So that's a little Captain Marvel ahead and some Image TMNT.
Stay tuned, my friends. Yeah. Stay tuned.
All right. So
back to your regularly scheduled synopsis.
Witnessing the danger below, Mighty Man springs into action, soaring to the rescue of innocent bystanders threatened by the unfolding chaos. As the battle rages on, Badrock and Overkill plummet into the depths of a subway tunnel, their clash echoing through the dimly lit underground passages. And in a stroke of fortune, Overkill meets his downfall at the hands of the subway's electrified third rail, followed by a thunderous collision with an oncoming train. Racing against time, Mighty Man and Badrock converge on the scene, confronting Overkill as he holds a hapless hostage in a desperate bid for survival. With swift and decisive action, Mighty Man severs Overkill's arm. Then Badrock and Mighty Man combine to deliver the final. They dissect this guy. It was almost like Mortal Kombat level. They take one arm off, they take the other arm off, and then the next thing, it's Badrock and Mighty Man launching Overkill's head from his body. So delivering the final blow. Yet
Dismemberment Incorporated.
And is that a tag team?
No, but it could be, right? They just made that up. They could. That's their tag team name now. If they ever do another charity about it and they tag, and they should, that's their Dismemberment Incorporated.
Even in victory, the heroes find themselves embroiled in a lighthearted dispute over the fate of Overkill's severed head, settling their disagreement with a playful game of basketball. The Knicks were out of town, apparently. Mighty Man and Badrock reaffirm their bond as allies, united in their dedication of safeguarding the city from threats, both mundane and extraordinary. My goodness, that was the first half of Badrock and Company. So, Dean Compton, I'm going to let you go first here, man. What are your thoughts on these first three issues?
Well, they're obviously a lot of fun. We said before, issue one's pretty weird. Pit's around, and that guy busts through and says, Timmy, and it's like years before South Park happened, so that's pretty wild. Those two guys are creepy and weird. It all works. It's fun to see. Great splash pages, just nonstop action in that first one that I just really, really enjoy every page. The second one might be my favorite of the whole series just because I'm such a wrestling mark. And I'm sure I'll have more to say about the first one as y'all talk about your stories too. But first off, do you have any idea what their theme music would be?
Well,
Okay. Would Fuji come out to that terrible fucking racist WCW Asian music that they gave to Great Muta and Masahiro Chono and Yuji Nagano? Every Asian for like 7 years came out to this. I can't even describe it, but it's very Asian sounding. And they think we wouldn't notice, but we noticed WCW. I don't think you would come out to that. But what do you got, Jesse? You got any ideas?
Well, Badrock's theme is going to be a metal version, but it's going to be one of those somewhat tweaked to avoid copyright infringement, just like WCW would kind of do with Diamond Dallas Page's music. We don't
cowboy theme.
We got to tweak the theme to the Flintstones, but make it a metal theme, and then out comes Badrock. Now, I don't know what Fuji's would be. My goodness. Good golly. Just like you said, it was you need something that emits Asian and whatever is coming our way, we need to be scared of. Something like
the theme to Godzilla, the 1954 just theme as he lumbers out. He's a former sumo. He would be 100% about the presentation.
That's perfect.
I would use Run Rabbit Junk from the Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex Volume 1 soundtrack.
Jeez, criminy. Gosh, that's specific. I have no idea what that even is.
Well, what Ghost in the Shell is, right?
Yes, I do.
Is anime or whatever. Well, they have a specific thing called Standalone Complex, which is its own continuity that kind of works as this crazy good police procedural that also deals with the questions of philosophy of life and what is being alive and what would being a robot be. And something I must watch, one of my favorite TV shows of all time. Well, they released a soundtrack from it, and one of the songs is called Run Rabbit Junk. That's the one I would use for Fuji. And for Badrock, it would be Rock You Like a Hurricane, right?
Okay.
Scorpion. All right, I got another question. This is a big time fucking match, right? Huge main event. You don't just have a main event on a card. What's the undercard? There's got to be at least one other fight. You remember when Andre the Giant fought Antonio Inoki fought Muhammad Ali? Well, the undercard was Andre the Giant versus, what's his name, Chuck Wepner?
Chuck Wepner. That sounds familiar. That's a name that sounds very familiar.
So there's an undercard. You can't just have one big superhero fight. What's the Image Universe undercard? Darry, what's the other fight? But it can't be as big as this one.
It can't be as big as this one, can it?
You're gonna need some martial. I don't say martial artists, but you can't go with speedsters because you want to be able to televise this.
Right.
It's for charity, right? So it can't be anyone who's got any outstanding warrants or any of that nonsense.
Right.
Probably.
It also can't be two big strong guys because you're already doing that.
You're already doing that.
Main event. So you got to do something different. I suggest Heatwave versus Spartan in a loser loses his head sock match.
Ooh, I like that.
But for real, have y'all thought about it? That's my idea.
That's a good one too, because that works in continuity.
They have similar powers. It would be more of a cruiserweight feel versus a heavyweight feel. Yeah. But they're not, and their names they're both kind of the leaders of their team, but they're not big names. Anyhow, what do y'all got, Darry? You got another one?
No. I like that because you could picture Spartan's just a robot, really. So the Halo Corporation would be all about it. Be like, this is absolutely for charity, but you should definitely buy. I don't know what Halo actually does in the 90s. Later on, they're an energy conglomerate, but you could see them, the Halo billboards all over the thing. Be like, this is for charity, but absolutely support Halo. And then everyone's be like, Spartan, you're probably going to lose. He can melt you. And they're going to be like, we don't care. We're going to back up your brain to another alien robot we got in the basement. Don't worry about it. So yeah, I think that's a real good one.
Gosh. What do you got, Jesse?
I brought in
Cyberforce for you there. I hope you noticed that.
You did.
You said the martial arts. I like that. I'm trying to think of
same dude. I'm trying to figure out some of the.
Who's the Richard Dragon of the Image shared?
Right. It's a tough. I'm trying to pull out all my Image knowledge because I'm.
Well, it's also got to be somebody that's not wanted. Brigade's got a couple people that got Lethal and KO, but they're wanted, so it can't be them.
Would be a good one. Black Anvil from Codename Strike Force versus Troll from Youngblood.
Is Troll?
Okay.
Right? Because they're both Troll's a big showman. Black Anvil will do anything if you pay him. I think they're both little people. I think that'd be fun. I think that'd be a fun fight.
I just acquired the entire run of Codename Strike Force.
I saw that
fucking run. I've also got their crossover where it's Cyberforce, Codename Strike Force, opposed forces. What the fuck is happening here? Anyhow, we'll definitely do that one day. It's probably a year and a half out, but we will do Cyberforce, Codename Strike Force. I don't know if Jesse can handle it. He will die.
I don't know what will happen. My head may explode.
We should do Cyberforce one month, and just do Cyberforce.
Just do Cyberforce, yeah.
Oh man,
just do Cyberforce, and then the last one, because this is how Silvestri did it. We just stop and we do Witchblade. We just Cyberforce, Strike Force, and then right there. Oh, we got a new book. It's called Witchblade. There you go. We're gonna do the first 3 issues of that.
Undercard needs. How about some females? How about some ladies?
Yeah. I was just thinking of a female woman versus woman match. What you got?
Man, you mentioned Witchblade. That's a great throw out there, but I want to go with, it'd have to be somebody from Stormwatch. We'll say, oh goodness, hold on. It's not Siren, right? Is it Diva. Siren? Diva. Get that mixed up. And then Zealot. So, I mean, we're still on Stormwatch Wildcats.
Yeah,
so,
I can see that. I can see
just to see. I think Zealot would win pretty hands down.
I think the risk would be Zealot would kill her, and that would everyone would have to explain the charity match, and she'd be, no, I am the incarnation of fight. I don't do non-lethal.
What if it was Angela versus Witchblade?
Yeah, I was thinking Angela. That would be a really good. She'd show up. She'd be, no, I'm from the Old Testament. Don't worry about it. And then she could fight some magical creature. She'd be great.
I love this booking idea. It's so funny. Let me ask you a question then, Dean. This is a charity match.
Yeah.
How do they determine a winner? And what are the rules here? Are we just saying this is going to be UFC fighting, or? It
seemed to be some kind of superhero MMA. Yeah. They were just really going to fight and take it kind of easy, kind of a sparring. I assume we didn't see one, but if I was doing it, if I was in charge and we were going to have them fight, I'd be like, listen, we're going to do 3 5-minute rounds like MMA, and at the end, we'll declare a winner. We're not going to sit here. Nobody's going to fight anybody until their containment suit gets ripped, which is what happened. But it is a really fun issue. The whole time, I love professional wrestling, and I love the big fight atmosphere. And this is pro wrestling with the biggest fight atmosphere possible. I think it's kind of spooky when he finds that skull. I guess
it is.
Like what was the skull from? Just from the people from the car, whatever.
It's frightening.
But then a couple minutes later, it's gross when Riptide has him puke, which is a really great use of Riptide's powers. Let's give her a lot of props. Who Alan Moore, when he writes Youngblood, will later kill. He will kill Riptide. He will forget what she did for Badrock and Company. And that's just such a fun issue. Issue 3 is also super good. I love them talking about toys nonstop. I love that Badrock doesn't know the secret of Mighty Man. I like how well they work together. And one of the things you see throughout all of these issues is that Badrock is a genuinely good kid. Yes. Like every time when he has a chance to not fight, he usually tries to not fight. And you see this whole time, and he's genuinely interested in meeting people. He comes across sometimes as flippant, but you got to remember he's 14.
Right.
And he is trying to, here's the thing. He's 14, but he's in this huge body, and you put him in the role of an adult, right? So he's trying to do what he thinks an adult would do. So sometimes he comes across a little too cool for school, but that's because he's emulating an adult. He is not an adult. The fight with Overkill is fun. They literally rip him apart. Lots of fun. Love the good-natured rivalry. I love how so little of this, honestly, this book and the Velocity book, and even the number 2, it's not necessarily the superhero formula per se. There may be a fight, but it's not like, oh, we were both going after super bad dude underground, and I thought he was with him, and so we fight until somebody says something. I think we're on the same team. They really did a good job of having some superhero conflicts without resorting to that pastiche. Andy Mangels does a really, really great job with the dialogue in both of the issues. I love all 3 of these issues to pieces. And I think 2 or 3 is probably my favorite of the series.
Yeah, as far as my notes go, really, I think issue 1 is going to be my favorite, just because it is, as with all of these, it's a knockdown drag out between these heroes. Sometimes they're just punching each other through walls and
right.
to me,
Pitt's also got those sharp claws. Remember when he scratches the indentation?
Yeah.
In him?
yeah,
Like fucking hardcore, man.
Right,
Like you
dude.
forget about Pitt has the claws. People forget that the guy with the knife in Madison Square Garden brought that knife in there. He should have been able to do that.
There
Like,
we
and it's
go.
He could have carved his initials into Badrock if he wanted. The Carnage costume. He could have come out there like I was here, and then Badrock could knock him to Sri Lanka.
out he goes.
Right.
Yeah, Pitt is probably one of my favorite Image heroes and one of the ones that got me into reading Image comics. Yeah, not
More than Cyberforce.
well. Here's the thing: there's levels. All right.
Did you learn about Pitt from Cyberforce because he was in it?
No, I did not. Believe it or not, I saw Pitt issue 1, and I was immediately I gotta have that.
I just acquired a whole run of Pitt as well.
Oh,
And let me tell you this. I skimmed through the whole thing, right? The whole fucking thing, all 20 issues. You could not tell the difference between any of them as you skimmed through them. They all seemed exactly the goddamn same.
it's a formula. There's a formula there.
Just skimming through it, it's okay. Here he goes. Big page, guy, scream, boo. Big page, boo. Fight. Things over. Guy looking, fights over. Guy looks anguished in the comic, and you would just the same. You could almost
the way
like
through.
splash pages. I'm not saying they are all the same. I'm just saying that guy found something that worked and stuck with it.
Yeah, he did not break the formula at all. Break the yeah. So issue 1, my favorite. Pitt's in there. These guys are punching people or punching each other through buildings, and of course Timmy's involved, and it's all stuff that I'm kind of familiar with. But just watching these two kind of go at it, and then they team up at the end, which those dudes, I don't know how they got out of there alive.
Yeah, wouldn't they just murder freaking Twinkle Dumb and Twinkle Dumber?
I swear, dude, Pitt would have. I don't know about Badrock, but
Corporate Harry Potter looking motherfuckers.
I was waiting because the one guy's like, you're going to hear a scream in a few minutes, I'd wager, and where his brother is in the hands of Pitt. They're going to be dead. Anyway, so I enjoyed that. And
but
yes.
Badrock says they're not dead. He
He took them.
The Psy guys are going over him or whatever.
Right. Took them back to Youngblood headquarters, and they're getting evaluated, I guess you would say. But yeah, as far as issues 2 and 3, again, it's great to see Fuji involved here. At this point, you're watching Badrock kind of make his way through some of the very prominent people that are out there in the Image universe. So anyway, Darry, what are you thinking here, man? First 3 issues.
Issue 1 was great because I love the fact that they're just looking at all the Image characters in photographs, like trading cards, but
Like
just saying,
All-Star Squadron cover.
yeah, exactly. Who are we going to pick? Who are we going to choose? We're not going to have any problem getting anyone to fight.
I can make out Savage Dragon and Super Patriot.
Right.
I saw the Max.
I was going to say, and the Max, and I couldn't make out any of the others or anybody else.
Yeah, I don't know that you're supposed to, but I love Pitt in this because he does not do anything. He barely says anything, and he just kind of wanders through the story. But from what I've read of Pitt, that is incredibly accurate. So I really enjoyed that. I like the fact that the entire thing's almost played for a farce. No one's ever taking it seriously. Timmy is never quite sold on whatever the hell's going on, and he's 5. So I just thought that was great. I love watching the two of them beat the crap out of each other because Badrock's got so much in common with the Thing, and Pitt has so much in common with the Hulk. So it's just a throwback to one of those classic Marvel stuff.
Right, dude. Right.
It sets the stage for what you're going to get in the remainder of the series really well. It's that classic Marvel formula of they're going to meet, they might have a misunderstanding, and then ultimately they'll find a way to take down whoever the bad guy is going to be. I thought it was a great first issue, and my favorite part was the very last page where the one and only Rob Liefeld goes out of his way to introduce you to this brand new series, and I thought it was good. I'm the first one to give Liefeld a lot of crap, but what I like about this is he goes out of his way to introduce each one of the creators. I wouldn't even say co-creators. I don't know that he does all that much here. But it's not just Keith Giffen who, hey, you probably know who this is. It's all the other creators, new and old. I thought that was great. I think that's every book should have that if they don't already.
You can feel his excitement. He's genuinely excited to see what these folks do. That's one of the things one of the things I really like about Rob Liefeld is he really likes to see what other people do with the toys he made. Genuinely, he's not uninterested in very alternative viewpoints. What Alan Moore did with Supreme, a lot different than what Rob Liefeld and Brian Murray and guys did, but it's fine. It's like, oh, that's fucking cool. As long as it's cool, Rob seems to be down.
Well, as As long as it's cool and as long as it's something he would agree with, because I do remember he was very upset when a later writer made Shatterstar gay. I remember him being pretty upset about that.
Yeah, but that's not his toy. That's Marvel's toy. No
sure,
matter
of
what
course.
he thinks.
Of course.
You know, and I don't know what, and theoretically, when he had more editorial, and he has editorial control over Brigade now. If somebody wanted to do Brigade and they were like, oh, I want to make Seahawk gay, he could say yes or no. You know, but in that case, he can say whatever he wants, but he knows as well as I do the work for hire thing. That's why he went to Image, and he made it, but he made it for Marvel, and I think that creators should have a lot more say in the monetary part, but he's not Jack Kirby. Like everybody knew what work for hire was by that point.
Yeah, exactly. Issue 2 opens up. I think you guys mentioned this before, but he's wearing a shirt that just has Fred Flintstone's face with a cross through it, which I thought was great. Because again, they don't explain it in the context of the thing, but this and the next issue is just all about crapping on the fact that they would let him use the name Bedrock without ever drawing attention to it. I really like that. I'm a huge Stormwatch fan, so seeing Fuji here was great. I really like the fact that regardless of the fact that he's just a living gaseous form in a giant containment suit, he still wears a kimono when he is alone. I thought that was a great little bit where it's of course you remember back in the days where you had skin. We mentioned this before, but this issue is just filled with cameos for the rest of the Image shared universe. You get Dragon, you get the reporters from Spawn, you get Shadowhawk, who we'll see properly later on. Past that, my only
Cyberforce. Cyberforce watching the fight. I see Jesse looking around. Yeah. Really? Yeah. He was really. That was one of the things I meant to say, and I'm sure you're saying the same thing. But was just like, what a way to tie this disparate, sometimes disjointed place together with this fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys have any idea who Impulse is? Because Cougar seems to recognize her, but I could not find anything about her on
I have no idea.
the Robotech wiki today when I checked. So I couldn't find anything. The source of all knowledge. The repository of all knowledge, excuse me. But I could not find anything, and I just wanted to make sure there wasn't some, oh yeah, she was the big bad in Deathmate Mauve or something.
I can't remember anything about her.
Okay.
Nah, same here. I remember reading Cougar going, hey, what was it? He was calling her by her first name. So clearly, he knew exactly who she was. I was, okay, well, this is either a seed that's going to be paid off at some point, which wouldn't surprise me if it never did.
That's great, too, because to go back to what we were saying before, this really has Badrock and Company. I keep wanting to call it Bad Company, and I got that song stuck in my head. Badrock and Co., it's all about that old Marvel 2-in-1, Marvel team-up feel of there's a character we want to promote and we want to throw them in with a more popular character and we want to see where it goes. But oftentimes, if there wasn't a set story, someone would be like, hey, there's a plot line from a book I wrote that got canceled that I want to wrap up. Can I do it here with these two characters? And someone would be like, yeah, as long as you hit your page count, we don't really particularly care what you do. Right. And that felt similar here. You could definitely see this Impulse character. The writer was hoping, oh, someone's going to pick this up. I'm going to toss the ball back and Cougar will say, oh, yeah, I know her. She's part of my secret history. By the way, do you guys know anything about me? Well, that's the thing. I thought Cougar was an alien because that's how he is in the Alan Moore run, but I actually went and looked this up. He's like a cat person, right?
Very.
Oh, combat. Never mind. Sorry, I'm confusing the two.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say Cougar's very analogous with Tigra.
No, ignore
There's
me.
a lot of similarities between their stories. Not exactly the same.
It's funny because every time I see Cougar, I think of Timberwolf. Every time I look at one of the Rob Liefeld characters, I think, what DC comic was he reading when he scribbled these down? Because Badrock does have a very interesting face, as Dean mentioned. But for the most part, he's the character Block from the Legion. So I look at a lot of these other guys and I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. I kind of see the influences here. But no, I was thinking about the character Combat, who is not in this. I thought this was great. I'm not a wrestling guy like you guys, but I would absolutely have loved to have watched this bout. I thought that was such a great gimmick of we really want to have them fight. We want everyone to be about the fight, and we're just going to make sure that it gets turned up to 11 without anyone knowing. So I thought that was really good. A nice simple, done in one. I really appreciated it. That's the other thing is so many of the early Image books are known for being, I don't know, not written particularly well, but it's like this 6 issues. These are all done in one stories. They're very good. They're simple. You get what you want. If I had bought these back in the day, I would think that was money well spent. And that's even before the fact you're getting not only at least 2 major, well, major for the time superheroes, but you're getting a ton of other cameos. At this time, there's nothing preventing them from throwing in whoever is part of that shared universe. Trencher shows up at one point.
Yeah.
The thing is, Keith Giffen and Andy Mangels and Robert Lauren Fleming and Jim Valentino were all really good writers. So of course you're going to get those guys. Those guys can make you. They're all good enough to just sit down and just do a comic book, and it can't help but be good because they just understand the craft so well.
Yeah, and I was saying before, I love Mighty Man. I love Freak Force. That 3rd issue was great. Yeah, everything being set in Toy Fair. I think they actually even say at one point TMP, which is Todd McFarlane Productions. So again, they're having fun with themselves. They know what's going on. Like, one hallmark of Image, especially early Image, is they made fun of each other. They knew what was going on. They didn't know how long this thing was going to last. I always appreciate that about them because you compare it to early Marvel and it's Stan is the only guy you ever hear from, and he makes it seem like it's really cool. But with early Image, that wasn't the case. It was all these guys were giving you whatever story they could come up with, and they always seem to be appreciating the fact that it's, oh man, you guys are connecting with our stuff. Well, here you go. Here's more. Here's whatever we think you're going to enjoy until you stop enjoying it. I loved having Mighty Man show up. I think that's such a great character. I think Larson was always really, really good at taking what influenced him and working it into Savage Dragon, but putting his own spin on it. That's got one of the richest supporting casts of all time in that book, to the point where Dragon is almost the straight man, the crazy stuff going around him. I love Overkill. Todd McFarlane's always been my favorite of the Image guys, and any excuse to see him show up was great. I really, really appreciated the fact that at no point does he give a reason for why he hates him. He just hates him, and the other 2 characters are doing their best just to prevent him from hurting any of the civilians, which I thought was fantastic. And this was the only one where I got to the end and I was like, I want more of this. Just give me a mini series where Youngblood and Freak Force have to stop. I don't care. Overlord. I don't actually know who any of the Youngblood bad guys are, but please give me that. Give me that now. Whoever owns Youngblood, call up Larson and say, can I borrow a couple characters for a few issues?
For sure.
Who was more made to be an action figure? Overkill or Cygor?
Oh, I forgot about Cygor. Oh, that was a great toy. I love the Overkill figure though, because he always had the most ridiculous gimmicks.
Sure.
I think one of the figures, his head actually did shoot off with rockets. I think that might be what they're referring to here. I think you pushed a button in the back and the little head, his giant no neck head shot off.
They were, because that figure exists in their universe too, which is funny. Someone who licensed that. But then again, to that Todd McFarlane probably doesn't care. This one doesn't care because he had to pay Tony Twist, the real Tony Twist, money later because he didn't do anything to get his permission.
I was laughing. Jesse, did you know the story about Tony Twist?
I've listened. I think Rob brought it up a couple times on the podcast. But please, if you could let our listeners know
very quickly. This is summarizing an incredibly complex series of lawsuits over many years, but very, very succinctly, Spawn fights a stereotypical gangster. The character is named Tony Twistelli, aka Tony Twist. He's a knockoff Kingpin or Michael Corleone type. There's not really a lot of complication. But to Dean's point, the name is taken from a hockey player. And at some point later on, this was identified years after Spawn had really descended from his high point. And the hockey player was not happy.
I think he started the lawsuit in 99.
Oh, okay. So still after the movie, after the show.
Spawn certainly wasn't at its apex, but it was still a fairly sizable presence, I would say.
Sure, yeah. But in this issue, Tony Twist is just using a couple of panels. You could have used any character for that. Or I don't even know if it was in this issue. It might have been the earlier one. But it's a nothing character is my point. It's not like Angela where it made everyone all this money and Neil's like, well, where's my cut? This was a throwaway character. He liked the name. He hated the player or whatever. Todd's a big hockey guy. And then when the guy found...
a goon. I don't know if you know much about hockey, but he was a guy who kind of had a rep. If you went after his team star, he was the tough guy who protected you because fighting's allowed to a certain extent in hockey.
All right, cool. No, I didn't know that. But eventually the guy figured out that Spawn Comics had a character clearly named after him, and he had never, and no one had ever sought permission. So he sued Todd, and he ended up winning it, and he ended up winning way more than I think Neil Gaiman ever did in his other suit. So I find it funny that it's not like there were any Tony Twist action figures or anything like that. It's always this thing it's why would you do this? I don't understand that anyway. And
here's the big deal, honestly. It really has to do with the fact that Todd McFarlane's an idiot. Because if he had just named the guy Tony Twist.
That is just Dean, by the way. If Mr. McFarlane happens to be listening to this, I think he's brilliant and beautiful.
Listen, him being an idiot sometimes leads to him being massively successful. If you look at his toy gambit, it shouldn't have worked. It was stupid to do. It worked gangbusters. He's not scared of failure. He doesn't care about anything. So the problem is, if he had just named the guy Tony Twist, I don't think anything would ever come of it. But he was very loud that he named this character after this guy.
Yeah, I would never have known that this was a hockey guy. The character would have had to have been called Wayne Gretzky for me to think that he was called the hockey guy. So, but yeah, to Dean's point, I think it was even mentioned in Wizard. It was
Wizard
like
several times.
Yeah. This wasn't something that he tried to hide. He was very open, saying, I based this on a hockey player. The fact that the hockey player didn't know immediately, because I guess he wasn't reading Wizard, which doesn't surprise me.
He found out when kids brought the comic book to his mom's house, and then he saw the Spawn cartoon where the guy's in an orgy and all this stuff.
Bad. Yeah, it's bad.
And I don't want my name associated with that. Again, if the guy was just named Tony Twist, he'd gone to court, they'd have been like, man, what the fuck? But Todd could not tell enough people that is where the name came from loudly. And Todd thinks it's that freedom of speech thing. And to an extent it is. But at the same time, you're also trying to I don't think he made any extra money. Todd in one of the trials was, if I wanted to make money, I'd have named him Winoni Grezioni or something. It would have been that. This guy, who is this guy? But it doesn't matter. You were so loud about it. What did you want? You thought this was cool. You thought it made you look cool. And so on some level, you were leveraging this guy. Otherwise, you'd have just been like, it's just a cool name, very alliterative. Which he didn't say that was part of it, but he could have just kept it as that. But he wanted to be seen, I'm not just one of those comic book guys, I'm sports. And Todd's always had that in him. He played baseball. I don't mind that, but that came back to bite him in the ass. If he'd have just kept more quiet about that stuff, and also probably could, they wind up settling after a couple suits, I want to say. But he also could have probably just paid him at the beginning. He could have just been, listen, here's like $200,000, leave me alone.
Yeah.
But instead, he wanted to do all this stuff. So that's the story. I think Todd brought this on himself. It's not about whether the action, he had an action figure that made a bunch of money or any of that stuff. It's about that Todd loudly said that a despicable character was named for a real athlete. And he could prove he lost something because of this association. I forget what it was. I recently read about this, but I had this endorsement deal lined up, and they said they don't want it anymore because of this character. Wow. So now he can say, well, you hurt me.
Yeah. Dang.
Now, this wasn't it wasn't trillions of bucks or anything.
Right.
But it's enough to just say, hey, you hurt my rep. It doesn't take much more than that because Todd's already been so loud about what he did.
Let's get into our fourth, fifth, and sixth issue here. So our fourth issue, as we look at the front of this, now what are we getting into here? This is going to be our throwdown between Badrock and Velocity? Certainly not. These two can't be at odds. Well, let's find out. Here we go.
Calm down.
Written by Tom and Mary Bierbaum, which I don't know if you guys recognize that name, but
they wrote
those names.
Legion of Superheroes comics. They're very, very good at writing in that realm. They do very well with writing young characters.
Yep. Penciled by Todd Knock, inked by Larry Stucker, colored by Byron Tallman, color separations by Ollie Optics. I was waiting for that name to pop up here at some point, and lettered by Kurt Hathaway.
Ollie Optics free.
Amidst the backdrop of news coverage spotlighting Badrock's heroic exploits, a somber shadow looms over Cyber Force's Velocity, as she doesn't believe her team's heroic efforts are ever anywhere near as fun as Youngblood's. They always seem to be a struggle for survival. In a poignant moment of vulnerability, she cannot hide her inner turmoil from Ripclaw, only to find her emotions dismissed with a callous rebuke. Disheartened and seeking solace, Velocity embarks on a journey to Washington, D.C., leaving behind the familiar confines of Cyberforce. Meanwhile, Badrock eagerly anticipates a well-deserved weekend reprieve, planning to spend quality time with family in the comfort of his childhood home. Unbeknownst to him, Velocity clandestinely tails his path, her own internal struggles weighing heavy on her heart. Their paths converge in an unexpected encounter as Velocity finally summons the courage to confide in Badrock, bearing her soul and confessing her discontent within Cyberforce's ranks. Yet before their conversation can fully unfold, the tranquility of the reunion is shattered by the arrival of some cyber data shock troops. Am I not correct here? Shock troops have arrived.
Hey, if you don't know, who the fuck does, Mr. Cyberforce?
They are intent on apprehending Velocity. In a flurry of chaos and violence, Badrock springs into action, his fearsome might pitted against the relentless onslaught of their adversaries. However, the tide of battle turns when a shock trooper unleashes a devastating grenade, catching Badrock off guard and threatening to end the conflict in tragedy. In a moment of selfless heroism, Velocity intervenes, risking life and limb to save Badrock from another blast. She knocks her grenade from the shock troop's hands. Actually, I think it's out of his gun or something like that. And as it lies on the ground, it's about to explode. Velocity is able to escape the blast, but as the dust settles and the echoes of the explosion fade, a solemn realization dawns upon a fallen shock trooper, and his final words, a plea for Badrock to let his son know that I did not die fighting you. I died fighting with you. Touched by the fallen soldier's dying wish, Velocity's perspective shifts. Her understanding deepened as she returns to the embrace of Cyberforce. Newfound appreciation blossoming within her heart. Through sacrifice and self-discovery, Velocity emerges stronger. Her bond with her comrades reaffirmed by the crucible of adversity. All right. That's issue 4. Issue 5. We're getting into a cover of this. I believe we have Badrock and we have Grifter. That's right. Grifter has arrived. What could these two be getting into? Well, written by Robert Loren Fleming, penciled by Todd Knock, Larry Stucker on inks, colored by Byron Tallman, color separations in color, and lettered by Kurt Hathaway. In a heart-wrenching turn of events, the tranquility of Badrock's familial life is shattered as his mother, Angela, falls victim to the nefarious schemes of the Covenant of the Sword, held captive to coerce Badrock's father into crafting a deadly chemical weapon. Faced with the direst of circumstances, Badrock's resolve is put to the ultimate test as he seeks aid from an unlikely ally, Grifter, a man with a shadowed past and panache for danger. As Graves, a trusted confidant, implores Badrock to seek Grifter's assistance, the hero embarks on a journey fraught with uncertainty and peril. Confronting Grifter proves to be no easy task, his initial reluctance giving way to a fierce determination upon glimpsing a photograph of Badrock's beloved mother. United by a common cause, Badrock and Grifter embark on a covert mission to the heart of Mecca, the clandestine operation fraught with danger and deception. Despite Grifter's skepticism regarding Badrock's readiness for the task at hand, he finds himself begrudgingly impressed by the young hero's resourcefulness and strategic acumen. Disguised amid the bustling streets of Mecca, Badrock and Grifter navigate the treacherous labyrinth city, inching ever closer to the clandestine lair of the kidnappers. Yet in the whirlwind of uncertainty, a poignant revelation emerges for the reader. A flashback that Grifter has, unveiling his deeply intertwined history with Badrock's mother, a love thwarted by the shadows of secrecy and mistrust. As the present-day drama unfolds in a flurry of action and emotion, Badrock's fury ignites as he confronts the kidnappers, his desperate plea for his mother's release met with a hail of laser fire. In a moment of reckoning, Badrock's valiant efforts inadvertently lead to his mother's perilous fall, her life hanging in the balance as she teeters on the edge of oblivion. In a breathtaking display of heroism, Grifter swoops in to save the day, his true identity unveiled in a heartwarming reunion that transcends the confines of secrecy and betrayal. As mother and son embrace, Angela soon removes Grifter's mask, knowing that Cole Cash's face lie underneath. As Angela embraces Cole, Badrock begins to realize the pair knew each other, and there may have been more than a friendship between the two. All right.
May have been.
Ma!
He fucking proposed to her.
Ma! What are you doing, Ma?
Oh,
Oh, it's a great ending.
now we got a slappy rappy.
Issue 6, written by Jim Valentino. I wonder who could be possibly showing up in this issue. Penciled by Todd Knox.
It's Normal Man. It's Normal Man, guys. Sorry to spoil it, but it's Normal Man.
It might be the Alliance.
All right.
This issue actually does have the craziest cameo, but you only see it in a quarter of that double-page spread, and it's the characters from 1963.
Right.
Inked by Steve Montano, Danny Meeke, Larry Stucker, colored by Byron Tallman, Donald Skinner, Laura Rode, lettered by Kurt Hathaway, and color separations in color. All right, in our final issue, the climactic finale of the series, a stage is set for a fateful encounter as Shadowhawk, guys. Shadowhawk, grappling with the specter of his...
Can I try this? I want to do this real quick. I want to see if I can do this without missing the main point here.
All right.
So, beloved urban vigilante Shadowhawk appears randomly in Youngblood headquarters after bouncing around the time and space continuum of the Image shared universe, looking for a cure for HIV, which was given to him in his origin story, and he is being shot around on this odyssey by Trencher's metaphysical AI partner thing. He then asks Badrock if Youngblood has the cure for HIV. Badrock says, I don't think so, but I drank a magic serum that turned me into an 8-foot-tall rock monster. If you did that too, it would probably cure your HIV. And then eventually they end up fighting a bunch of supervillains. And I cannot believe I have to say this about a comic from 1994. Shadowhawk's HIV is not cured by a bunch of Rob Liefeld characters. He then returns to his own ongoing series where, I kid you not, he dies. He dies almost immediately after this book. Oh, yes, sorry. I skipped over an issue with Spawn where Spawn, the literal incarnation of a soldier from hell, also cannot cure the HIV virus.
Yeah, that's
Remember
perfect.
when they tried to put him in the Spartan body?
Yes.
He was like, no.
This is wild. This is insane.
Right.
I think I jumped on board for some of the very early issues of Shadowhawk, but I didn't stick around. So I don't know what happened afterwards, but clearly it was a lot, because there is a lot of shit that when he does that. What is it? Takes him a page where he's talking about, okay, how did I end up here?
Double page spread. Yeah.
It's fucking shit,
bam,
man.
Bam. And then it gets even wilder, because at some point in this, he says something about, I was attacked, I was infected, and my life fell apart, and then something guided me to want to become Shadowhawk. After all of this is done, you find out that on top of everything else, Shadowhawk is a legacy character.
Right,
Yeah.
dude?
That, like,
Because that's who he goes and talks to in 1960. When he
Shadowhawk.
and the characters of 1963. Yeah. And then there's that one Legends of Shadowhawk where there's Cowboy Shadowhawk and shit.
Wow.
Well, if you read the first one, what's another thing about Shadowhawk? Is the first miniseries was like, who is Shadowhawk?
Yeah.
What was the big reveal? And then the big reveal is that he's a black guy, Paul Johnson, right? Or John Stone?
John Stone, yeah.
John Stone, that's right. But then the second reveal, it's that he has AIDS, he has HIV. And all of a sudden you're like, so is every one of these miniseries going to have some big reveal? And eventually he drops the miniseries thing anyway, which makes it more confusing. So now all of a sudden there's Shadowhawk 19 or what the fuck ever.
Yeah.
But I remember that first issue of Shadowhawk.
Oh, it's crazy.
Sleek.
Yeah.
People could not stop talking about it at school. I remember this one guy carried it around all fucking day.
Cover,
and he would just get it out and look at it sometimes and show me. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that book. I love Shadowhawk. I thought he had a great name. I thought he had a great look.
Great look.
I love the fact that he was Batman crossed with the Punisher. Again, I don't think at the young age I picked up on all the HIV stuff. I really don't think I got that. I knew, again, he had action figures from McFarlane. He looked cool. I think I had a bunch of stickers with him. I really liked the character. I thought it was a great design. But yeah, you actually go back and you read all of this stuff. And again, Dean mentioned this before, but it's Valentino. There's a lot of thought here. There's a lot of use in our medium.
He's not just throwing this stuff out for shock value or something. This is a wildly well-developed story.
Yeah.
When you consider how it starts out with a guy he breaks criminals' spines.
Right.
Yeah.
And then all of a
Right.
sudden he was once a cowboy.
It's true. It's true. So Jesse, I didn't mean to step on you. I
Nope.
just issue
I feel
6
like you
is
did
so
it. I feel
wild.
You
like
did it. I'm not reading anything else here. I think that was a perfect synopsis of what happened.
It's
in 6.
so
Let's start
wild.
we can start with Jesse. Well, Jesse, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah,
issue?
what do you think, Jesse? Tell us.
Yeah, so these 3 issues, man. Okay, I want to say that as far as the weakest of the bunch, I'll go ahead and give that to issue 4. I love Cyberforce. I love that we got velocity in this thing, but there is a real, unless I was missing pages, which could very well happen, but I really didn't understand how velocity came to and you guys are here to help me work through this, okay? I didn't understand how velocity came to like, hey, I'm tired of dealing with these shitheads at Cyberforce. I want to go where I can have some fun. She goes off to hang out with Badrock and they get attacked. They have a conversation, which they don't even finish, really.
Right.
As far as I can tell, it gets started, and then the shock troops show up, and then we have this weird sub-story with this guy and his kid. And
It's disjointed.
it really had me, okay, I need another 5 pages here, because I wanted something more from this. Or you cut the whole, I don't know. I
think one of the things about the velocity going to see Badrock is one of the big misconceptions of Youngblood is people are like, oh, Rob Liefeld just did X-Force or the X-Men. It's actually more of his take on the Avengers. They're an official super team. They're celebrities. They're government sponsored. And it's not, I don't even think it's necessarily a take on the Avengers so much. It's Avengers next level, because if you had a government super team that was doing these big time missions, the government would also have all these sub-agencies that would engage in subterfuge and bullshit against these guys if they went wrong. You'd have an away team to do dirty work overseas, et cetera, et cetera. But Cyberforce is decidedly more of an X-Men pastiche. Right. So if you think about the way the universe works, yeah, people aren't sure what they think about Cyberforce because they're mutant cyborgs and they're all dark and cloaky. But Badrock's on Entertainment Tonight. Like Shaft was just on Cigar Aficionado magazine. Vogue is a supermodel. So it's kind of more like that. So I think that's why she's like, seems a lot more fun over here.
Yeah, I can understand why she wanted to leave. There's even a point where she's having nightmares where Ripclaw had killed somebody that was attacking them or something along those lines. So guaranteed it's traumatic.
Ripclaw's just an asshole too. Right?
He is really in this. He is a jerk. Oh, why don't you wipe your tears? Are you crying again? You crying again because of what happened yesterday? Which you don't really know what happened yesterday. I assume the dream is what happened yesterday.
Right. But that's what I put together.
But yeah, and I don't know. I didn't get the payoff. I didn't understand why she made the choice that she did. I didn't understand how that battle made her go, oh, things are definitely better over there where I can get yelled at by a fucking Indian with knives for hands.
Native American.
Thank you very much.
Wow, that's the best description of it. Wow, that was good.
So I did not get the payoff there at all. But regardless, hey, it was Velocity showed up and hung out with Badrock for a few.
I think it was a combination of the guy's heroism himself and Badrock and her and trying to save her and everything. She's like, sometimes it's you make choices and it can be him or you, and maybe I'll have to make a choice to save somebody at some point, and that's what we're really doing here. Okay. But I had to put a lot of that together myself.
Yeah.
It's not even really pointed at. It's kind of I think there's the slimmest bit of subtext there.
Right. Issue 5 was a lot of fun. We've got Grifter, we've got Badrock, we've got a love story that happened between Grifter and Badrock's mom, Angela. I love how this story actually continues, or at least is referred to. I sent you guys pictures from the Grifter Badrock series, where apparently I was reading up a little bit. I haven't read those 2 issues, but I assume this was a series that was going to get completed and never did. But yes, their adventures continue. But it's kind of funny to watch Grifter give Badrock a lot of shit, and then Badrock actually, hey, no, I know a couple things. I may be a young kid, but Grifter can't stand him.
Well, I think the thing is Grifter's like, you're being dumb, but it's actually Grifter who's being dumb.
Right.
Grifter is doing Grifter things. Badrock should do Badrock things. There's no advantage. Like, Badrock, sneak around here. He weighs 5 tons and he's a giant goddamn granite creature.
That was so
you
funny.
You can hear him from 5 miles away. He's not sneaking around anything.
Fucking like
it would be, you ever see those parades from the Soviet Union or China where they have their nuclear missiles all on the truck?
Oh, yeah.
It'd be throwing a washcloth on one of them. Here, now he can sneak through here. No one will know what's going on here. What are you talking about, Grifter? He should just make the big entrance, and you should do more clandestine stuff and sneak around and all that kind of stuff. Calm down, Grifter.
Exactly.
You're the dumb one here, not the kid.
Damn. Yeah. The second panel, or maybe it was even third, or something like that. But anyway, he's like, yeah, we're on a covert mission. I'm like, Badrock and covert does not go together well. And sure enough, he's walking around disguised as, I think Grifter calls him the ugliest woman ever, which is hilarious. But anyway, it was a good story. I love some Cold Cash. I love me some Badrock, so I'm all right. And yeah, go ahead, Darry.
I was just gonna say, I read the whole issue as parody, because you guys are right. You don't take Badrock on a covert mission, right? That's the whole thing. Even when it's opening, he's like falling, and then the parachute gets shot, and he makes a big deal out of it. He doesn't need the parachute. He'd be fine without the parachute.
He just thought it was fun.
Yeah, the whole thing is Grifter clearly realizes, I almost married your mom, which means you wouldn't exist. That's really weird. I have to make sure she gets out okay. To me, it's a parody, right? At one point, he says, put on this headscarf and shake your behind so that we can sneak into the holiest city in this part of the world. It's insane. It's one of those things where it feels like a Garth Ennis comic. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And forget him. Grifter is sneaking with like laser guns, a green trench coat,
right.
his red face mask in the middle of the desert. Yeah, it's not a covert. He's telling a little kid, we're going on a covert mission, guys. We're playing James Bond. But the kid's invincible. These mooks I've taken out 100 different times, and as long as no one's a Damonite, I'm pretty sure we're going to get this girl back. So I just read the whole thing as a parody, but I also loved it because if you read Wildcats, you constantly see Grifter screwing up because he's the least powerful person on the entire team. But here, it's no, he's as cool and as badass and as sleek as he wants to be. He's Wolverine, Batman, and the world's greatest secret agent. And it's great to see the kid bite into it. And it's like, yeah, I'm going on a mission. And then it's just, no, you're a distraction, dude. You're a good distraction.
Well, yeah, something to shoot at.
Casual Islamophobia in this comic. It's, first off, putting it under Mecca is kind of bad already. But at one point, their Westerners aren't allowed in Mecca. And that's not true. Non-Muslims aren't allowed in Mecca or Medina. But Western has nothing to do with it. If you're a Muslim from the United States, you can go. You're supposed to go. It's called a Hajj or something, Haji. You're supposed to make this pilgrimage once in your life. Right. You're supposed to go to Mecca. But it's not just for Western. He was like, Westerners aren't allowed here. Non-Muslims aren't, buddy. It's not about Westerners. You need to get your shit straight. I don't like Islamophobia.
I understand. I think the Covenant of the Sword logo is pretty kick-ass, by the way.
I do think that. That. They look like it. They look like they're evil. They're the knights of the square table, right? These are the bad knights.
You don't want to mess with them. And yeah, we already talked about issue 6 a little bit and how insane that is with Shadowhawk showing up with this crazy intent. But what's really neat is the fact that we allow a continuing storyline to get another chapter in this series, and then it goes elsewhere. So I appreciate it for that. That's
pretty. Sure. I always think about the Avengers Defenders War. Something that picks up. Darry was saying sometimes you can have a storyline. If you're in a team up book, you can have a storyline from other issues bleed over into here. And I thought that was pretty neat too.
Yeah. All right, Darry.
Let me just say this though. What about how cool Badrock is? One of the things he always does is he's always willing to not fight. When Shadowhawk gets in there, he's like, "Oh, you're sick. Well, here, have a seat. Tell me what's going on.
They sit down and talk.
Let's talk about it then. You wouldn't be busted in here for no reason." And he mentions that he misses his friend. Content warning, Chapel killed himself. Badrock misses his friend. And all throughout these issues, you just see that Badrock's a really good kid. And I love that in 6th issue where he's like, well, listen, if you busted in here because you need help, then let's help you. That's not what Shaft would have done. That's not
Bows drawn.
That's not what Vogue would have done. Combat would have killed him no matter what, regardless.
Oh my God.
Who knows what Brahma or Photon would have done?
All right, Darry.
Right.
You're up, Darry. What do you think of the 3 issues, man?
Again, I issue 6 just knocking for a loop because everything is just the 1963 guys are in here, the Fury and Horus and Johnny Beyond.
Johnny Beyond rules. I read the Johnny Beyond for Halloween one.
Did you really? That's amazing.
Yeah, but you don't have to do anything other than put on some sunglasses and a leather jacket and a blazer underneath.
Fair enough.
People are who are I'm Johnny Beyond, and they're like, "Who's that?" I'm like, "Fuck, nobody knows who Johnny Beyond is."
No one.
Well, yeah. Why the fuck would they use it one comic book one time? Did a couple others, obviously, but
Those are the best costumes, though, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, I was happy to see him here. This whole issue is freaking wild because it's like you could do this in a way where it wasn't literally HIV, right? You could have been, I have an incurable disease. I don't know. I want to be able to, you guys have super science. You all have superpowers. One of you is an alien. Can someone here help me do this? But they're just straight up, nope. I have HIV, the same HIV on the news, the same HIV that Chapel had, except his was injected by the government, not a bunch of mobsters. I'm not actually 100% sure.
We're just walking around with HIV. I don't feel like they have it, but they just have a syringe of it. They're like, hey, this is what we're going to do.
But again, it's as heavy-handed as it is. It's not bad because it does 2 things I really like. One, it gives this character an arc. Paul Johnstone existed as Shadowhawk only for that year and a half, but that's a hell of a year and a half for him. Valentino clearly had a plan. He turns him into a legacy character so he can tell other stories, but he's a 90s character. He's, I'm going to tell you something about the nature of being a superhero that I'm going to have this guy check out. And the other thing he does is Valentino loves the Image shared universe, right? He has this character go everywhere and meet everyone, and he gets the most mileage out of it. And I think that's great. I think he really appreciates the narrative and storytelling strengths of this. No surprise, the guy did some great work over in Marvel, even when his characters were 1,000 years in the future. So I enjoyed it. It was a wild ride. It was certainly a product of its times, but I don't mean that in a negative way. I got to give it up to that Grifter issue, though. I love Wildcats. I love everything from Wildstorm. From page 1, that entire issue is again, it's just, I just think it's funny. I can't believe we even got it. And what was the other one? It was 4. Just
4 was Velocity.
Oh, your Cyberforce, your Cyberforce. So I was not confused. I may have read it wrong, though, because you have listened to you guys talk. I think I misunderstood. I thought she ran away because she saw Ripclaw kill a guy and she just needed to cool off. I thought it was her way of saying Cyberforce is my family. I'm Jubilee. I'm Shadowcat. I'm always going to go back to the X-Mansion, but I got to get out of here. I got to cool off a little bit. And then seeing that Badrock and Youngblood, their day was no less insane, where this guy dies and he's begging Badrock to carry on his lie on his behalf. I just thought it was her way of saying, oh no, I've chosen this life. It's going to be insane no matter what. And at least if I go back to Cyberforce, I know they have my back, even if Ripclaw can occasionally be an absolute crazy person. So that's how I read it. I don't know if that's accurate.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But again, this whole series was great. You really absolutely get your money's worth. If I had known about it at the time, I definitely would have bought it. It's a great cross section. Not too long ago, we read Mars Attacks Image, where you got to see a similar vibe of all the Image characters coming together. It's published a few years after this, and you get to see a similar thing where, okay, what happens when you really understand that all these characters exist in the same place, and what do they do? And of course, in that story, it's the inverse of Badrock and Co., because in there, all the Rob Liefeld characters are killed off because he has left the company, as opposed to here, where they are front and center, and Youngblood is, as Dean mentioned, the premier government-backed super team. So I enjoyed it. It took me back, and really, I want a Badrock series. I want it right now. I want Skybound or someone to just put it out and let me buy that.
I'd buy it.
Yeah.
What about the Joe Casey Image series that's coming out soon, right?
No.
It's called Blood Squad 7 or something, and it's going to be about like a 90s Image superhero team from the Image universe that disappeared and has shown up today.
That's awesome. I would definitely get that. You suggested Local Man on an earlier episode, and I went out and I got it, and it was probably the book of the year. And it's got that same feel. It's the main character is someone who was on, they're not called Youngblood, but someone who was on a very similar team to Youngblood and washed out for a complicated series of reasons you discover over the course of the series. And he reflects on that time and how everyone remembers him and how his old allies and enemies keep coming back. And it's great. It's heartfelt, and it very much embraces its 90s nostalgia. So it's another great book.
That's lovely.
Yeah, I've got to catch up. I've got like 2 more to read. I'm behind a little bit on Local Man. It's one of the only books I pick up floppies of. Everything else is trade, baby.
Yeah, it really does well too. It's one of those books where it's written for the issues and not for the trade. At least that's how it feels to me. They got one-off issues where one's a parody of Deathmate, one's a parody of Bad Girl art from the time. They really use the medium well. So it definitely it's worth adding it to a pull list.
All right, Dean, tell me about these 3 issues.
There's not much more we can possibly say. It's fun to see Velocity show up. I think Darry was probably right. Maybe I was reading too much into that. But I mean, she's young and also he's young, so I think that's another reason why she seeks him out. Maybe this could possibly be better. The grifter issue, other than the Islamophobia, it's a lot of fun. It's always, anytime you get an odd couple team up, this is great. Like, this is Gambit Thing or Wolverine Spider-Man, where it's, you fucking idiot or whatever. And Grifter does all kinds of like dumbass spy superhero shit where he's like, I'm using the kick to slow down my descent. How would that even work?
Not in a fucking million years.
Right. Oh, I don't want to fall so fast. Let me just shoot my gun downwards. I mean, in a perfect circle, mind you. And I'm not talking about Maynard's band that isn't Tool. I'm talking about a perfect circle. They shot right through there, and it was
all part of the plan, too.
All part of the plan.
Yep.
I love Shadowhawk. I've actually meant for us to read the first Shadowhawk mini forever because it's just, I don't know. At first, that first Shadowhawk mini has this very interesting, almost diametrically opposed feel to the rest of the Image universe at the time. Cyberforce and Wildcats and Spawn and maybe not Savage Dragon, but Wetworks and Youngblood, they were all slick, very slick. Shadowhawk's not very slick, and I mean that positively. It feels, when you read it, you get immersed in the world. Even the lettering feels rough and jittery, and everything's not quite right in this seedy part of town. So I really, really love Shadowhawk and always have, and great visual. In fact, somebody posted something the other day on my Facebook page. It was Wolverine's wearing this armor now. Doesn't this look like Shadowhawk? And it absolutely looks like Shadowhawk. So good for you, Wolverine. and again, I just love how every one of these issues, you just see that Badrock's a great guy, great kid. I think it's weird that he had so much trouble finding Grifter, though, who's part of Wildcats. And they've met Youngblood before. Now, I did go back and look at when they met in the Wildcats early issues. And Badrock and Grifter don't meet.
Oh.
Because Grifter's off doing other things while Maul and Warblade and Spartans spar off with Youngblood. But it does seem like it could have been like, hey, we've met these Wildcats. He has files on other people. Why don't you just be like, hey, let's figure this out. Instead, he's, I don't know, going into pirate bars and beating people up and asking for Grifter.
How old do you guys think Cole Cash is? Because I was so confused. This story is set in 1994 when it was published, right? Badrock is 17 or something.
I think he's 14, 15 years old.
All right, so let's say he's 15, right? So at the very earliest, the engagement could have taken place was 16 years ago, right? So that puts it in the late 70s. How old do we think the Grifter is supposed to be at that point? Is he 18 when he gets engaged? Like, that's the only thing that confused me, because later on, they do make a couple of comments about him being older than he should be because of nonsense he went through in Team 7 to give him the Nick Fury vibe. But none of that's continuity yet. Here, he's just this badass soldier of fortune. So I was just curious about that. Did you guys have any thoughts? This story seems to age him up a lot.
Yeah, it does.
But I knew about that. I knew he was kind of a Wolverine Gambit, I've been around a while, and we've got some mumbo jumbo to explain it, Nick Fury type thing. So I didn't really think much about it. I just thought that I thought what an asshole grifter was, because he's like, you've been looking for me. Well, here I am. What do you want? Yeah. Hey, help me find this lady. Fuck you. Oh wait, I know her. Sure, okay, sure.
Yeah.
It was funny too, because I had
to help you with a kidnapping victim that I don't personally know.
That I too, because again, when you look at it from,
I said he was an asshole.
Yeah, okay, but I too, because from Badrock's perspective, it's have to find this mystery man who wears a red mask that couldn't possibly help him in anything he does. But from Grifter's point of view, it's like, no, I have to kill people who may or may not have been possessed by aliens, and only my teammate knows the difference, and one of them might be the vice president. So he is very, very busy dealing with the plot of They Live to run off to the Middle East and rescue this person. So I thought that was, again, just a really good use of the character, of how different, they're both superheroes, but they don't exactly sit down and swap all their personal details. Badrock's like, why wouldn't you help me with this? And Grifter's like, you don't understand. We've been invaded, and I'm the only one who knows about it. So
let me tell you something, Badrock. Your team's not very covert. I appreciate your action, but I'm a covert action team, guys. I don't just go out yelling yabba dabba doom. I use my guns, and I use the kick to keep me from falling to the earth very fast, because my guns are super silent, okay? Covert action teams.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. All right. Well,
we should ask Grifter's opinion on more stuff. Darry and I'll just do that impression. They should bring back Puddin' Pops. I miss them. But for
that's
real,
going to be...
goddamn.
That's going to be our next bonus episode. When Jesse needs some content, he's going to come up with some comments and be like, all right, we need to ask Grifter's opinion. I have legitimately read every Grifter comic ever, so I'm down. Wow. I am down to do this one.
I wish we'd have seen his Robin cycle in this one.
Oh yeah, that thing. Oh my goodness.
I call it his Robin. It looks like a Robin cycle, but it's or an Akira bike. It's also could be.
I was gonna say, I always felt like it was an Akira bike with the way Jim Lee drew it, but yeah, I know what you
kind of a combo of the two.
Yeah.
It's Tim Drake, Akira.
Another book I would read quite happily.
I would, absolutely.
We have reached the end. Here it is. We've done all 6 issues of Badrock and Company. Let's go ahead and get into plugs. Dean Compton, tell them all about the Unspoken Decade.
All right, celebrating 10 years over the UnspokenDecade.com. And we're over the Facebook page, posting lots of stuff every day for people to talk about and comment on. I posted something today that now 1 million people have told me how much they don't like Todd McFarlane. So that's pretty neat. So go over there and yap a lap about whatever you feel. Be respectful. But we're welcoming those opinions over at the Facebook page. And check out sbcomics.com. Matthew Price and Annette Price are willing to sell you some comic books. So you can check them out on Facebook and at sbcomics.com. Always giving them a plug. Got the shirt on right now, but you can't see it, so I'm giving you that audio style.
Yeah. Hey, listen, on the Unspoken Issues podcast here, we talk about 90s comics. You can hear a recent episode that dropped back on Valentine's Day where myself, Dean Compton, and Emily Scott got together and talked about the Marvel Valentine special that came out. I think it was 97.
1997.
So it was a lot of fun. We had, I think, 5 different stories in there that kind of focused on loving one another, and also some great messages as well in some of those. So check that out. That was a fun one. Also, the Source Material Comics podcast just dropped an episode today as we record. Me and Mark Radlich got together and talked about Batman GCPD 1 through 4. I think that was from 96, I want to say. Maybe 96, 98. I can't remember. But anyway, that was 4 issues of showing off some of the fun stuff that Harvey Bullock gets into. Renee Montoya gets kidnapped. We get, Harvey Bullock and Renee Montoya separate for a few. They're no longer partners. Harvey gets a new partner, a guy by the name of Soong, I believe. It's a lot of fun. So if you get a chance, check that out. And upcoming, well, I'll probably be in the archive because depending on when this airs, I will be over on the MCU's Bleeding Edge talking DC Comics, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But regardless, I'm going to be over there with those guys hanging out on their YouTube channel. And we're going to be talking the movie Superman versus the Elite. So that should be a lot of fun. Well, that being said, I think it's time for us to get out of here. So that's Dean Compton. There's Darry Wade. I'm Jesse Starcher. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. Unspoken Issues is part of the UnspokenDecade.com, the home for 90s comics, blogs, and podcasts. Unspoken Issues also has a Facebook group you can join if you are interested. Just search the Unspoken Issues podcast and request to join. All of this would not be possible without W2Mnet.com, so make sure to seek them out for more podcasts. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please feel free to share, and we look forward to entertaining you again soon.